Rain hammered the windows of the little riverside restaurant as I walked in, the same place where 16 years ago I'd nervously dropped to one knee and asked Holly to marry me. I should have known something was off the moment she chose this spot for our anniversary dinner. After all, she'd always said the memories here were complicated. But I was foolish enough to think we could just pick up where we left off. Inside, Holly was already sitting by the window with 3 of her closest friends, the same window where I'd made the most important promise of my life. Her smile when she saw them was bright, genuine, even radiant, the kind of smile that used to be reserved for me. "Brandon, you actually made it," Amber said, her voice dripping with a sharp edge, like a warning in disguise. I slid into the chair opposite my wife, not beside her. That should have spoken volumes. Holly didn't look at me once. We'd barely ordered drinks when the server gave me a look I couldn't quite place. Pity? Sympathy? I wasn't sure yet. Outside, October rain streaked down the glass, blurring the city lights into watery ghosts. The atmosphere felt thick, like walking into a room where they'd just been talking about you, only I was the subject. Christine, who always seemed to wear a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, leaned forward. "Holly was just telling us about your anniversary, the dating one, not the wedding one." I glanced at Holly. She was studying her wine glass like it held the answers to a riddle she didn't want to solve. "What about it?" I asked. Amber cut in. "You forgot it." Typical. I shook my head. I didn't forget. I asked Holly if she wanted to celebrate it. She looked up then, meeting my eyes for the first time that night, cool and distant. Same thing, really. "You should just know." A shiver ran down my spine. "No. What? That you wanted to celebrate? You said you didn't." Holly flicked a glance at her friends. "See, this is what I mean." Nicole, the quiet one, spoke up. "Must be hard being married to someone who doesn't pick up on things." I set my glass down carefully. Fascinating, actually. Being expected to read minds while simultaneously being told, I overthink everything. Silence fell around the table, thick and uncomfortable for a few seconds, before Amber laughed, slicing through the tension. The conversation moved on, but I felt it, the trap closing in. This wasn't a dinner. It was something else entirely. The jabs started small, almost casual. Comments about how lucky I was to have Holly, how accommodating I was with her busy schedule, said in a tone that made accommodating sound like a character flaw. How I should be grateful she stayed despite my limitations. Each word stung like a paper cut, insignificant alone, but sharp and endless when piled together. I remembered the early days when Holly introduced me with pride, her voice warm and full of love. When my steady nature was a strength, not a burden. When had that changed? Slowly. So slowly I didn't notice until it was too late. Last month I'd mentioned wanting to take a photography class I'd been dreaming about for years. Holly had looked at me with an expression that wasn't quite dismissive, more like exhaustion. "Do you really have time for that?" she'd asked, with everything else going on. Everything else meant her book club, yoga, girls' nights, brunches, and more brunches. My camera stayed in the cupboard. Christine chirped as our starters arrived. "You're so flexible with Holly's schedule. My husband would never." "Selective, maybe," I replied. "Only about what matters." Nicole smirked. "Oh, that's a nice way of saying whipped." Holly actually giggled, genuinely, like she was enjoying the show. Her cheeks flushed, eyes sparkling with the thrill of being the center of attention. I was the main course, and they were feasting. "Do you ever feel intimidated by Holly's confidence?" Nicole asked me bluntly. "Why would I be intimidated by my wife?" I said. "Some men can't handle a woman who knows what she wants. Good thing I'm not some men." The temperature at the table dropped a few degrees, but instead of backing off, they doubled down. Amber brought up Holly's college boyfriend, the life of every party, an alpha male, she said. Holly cut in. Brandon's different. I waited for her to defend me. She didn't. More domestic. Domestic. Like a house pet trained to sit quietly while the party went on without me. Christine asked Holly, "How do you handle being with someone so different from who you used to date?" As if I wasn't sitting right there. "Oh, you grow up," Holly said with a shrug. "You realize what's important. Stability. Reliability." She said those words like consolation prizes. I thought back to our third date, out in the countryside with a picnic I'd packed myself. "You're like a Boy Scout," she'd said, laughing. "So responsible." Her eyes had shown then. She'd meant it as a compliment. When had responsible become boring? When had steady become insufficient? I stabbed at my stake with more force than necessary. Consistency's underrated. Drama, though, that's exhausting. "Someone's getting defensive," Amber teased. "Not defensive," I said. "Just aware." Holly kicked my shin under the table, not playfully, a warning. That's when I knew, for certain, that she wasn't uncomfortable with what her friends were doing. She was uncomfortable because I was fighting back. The main courses arrived, steaming on the plates, but I hadn't touched a bite of my appetizer. My appetite vanished somewhere between the barbs and the cold stares. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, at the very restaurant where I had once dreamed of a lifetime with Holly, now choking on the bitter taste of their words. Christine leaned over to Holly, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Must be nice having such a manageable husband." Manageable. Like I was some household appliance that could be switched on or off at will. I met Holly's gaze, my voice low but steady. Manageable is an interesting word. I prefer strategic about which battles to fight, though I'm reconsidering my strategy tonight. Amber's eyes glinted as she let out a sing-song baby voice. "Ooh, someone's feelings are hurt." "Not hurt," I replied evenly. "Informed. I'm learning a lot about what my wife really thinks of me." "Don't be dramatic," Holly said sharply. "Dramatic would be leaving," I shot back. "I'm still here. For now." Nicole jumped in. "At least you're reliable with the practical stuff, right? Holly never has to worry about bills getting paid." "True," Holly agreed, a sly smile tugging at her lips. "I never have to worry about that." I forced a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Good to know where my value lies. The table went quiet, even the server hesitated nearby, dessert menus in hand. Holly's tone softened. "You're being really unfair right now." "They're my friends, and I'm your husband," she added, like that explained everything. I leaned in, matching her calm but pointed tone. "Interesting which one you're defending." Amber leaned forward, eyes gleaming with calculated cruelty. "Do you ever worry you're not enough for someone like Holly?" The question hung in the air, heavy and sharp, designed to make me small. "Not anymore," I said, my voice firm. Something in my words made Holly look at me with an intensity I hadn't seen all evening. "Really? Look at me." For the first time that night, it felt like she truly saw me. Not the role I played in her story, but me. "Me? What's that supposed to mean?" she asked, eyebrows knitting together. "It means I've stopped wondering if I'm enough. Now I'm wondering what this is. This marriage, this dynamic where I'm the punchline, the payment method." "Oh my God, you're being so sensitive," Christine sneered. "Am I?" I asked, voice steady. "Your husband invited you to dinner with his friends, who spent 2 hours explaining everything wrong with you, your career, your looks, your worth as a partner. And when you finally speak up, he tells you to stop being sensitive. How would that feel?" Silence swallowed the table. "That's different," Amber said finally. "How?" I challenged. "Because men are supposed to be able to handle this." Handle what exactly? I asked. Disrespect, public humiliation, being treated like I'm lucky to be tolerated. Holly's face flushed a deep red. Now, can we not do this here? Why not? I shot back. You chose this place, this audience, this whole setup. So, let's do this here. I looked around at them all. Nicole, did Holly tell you she wanted you to see what she deals with tonight? Nicole's face went pale. She did, didn't she? I pressed on. She told you she wanted validation. She planned this. Brandon, stop, Holly hissed. Why? We're just having fun, right? Just girl talk. Just friends being honest. The server approached cautiously, dessert menus in hand. Not for me, I said flatly. I'm not hungry anymore. Amber, sensing her moment slipping, went for the throat. You're just mad because you know Holly settled for you. Maybe she did, I said quietly. But I'm starting to wonder if I settled too. Holly slammed her hand down on the table. Excuse me, after everything I've done for you, everything I've put up with, you think you settled? What exactly have you put up with, Holly? I asked, voice rising just enough to turn heads at nearby tables. My stability, my reliability, the fact that I show up, pay attention, and actually care. You're not the man I married, she spat, loud enough that everyone around us paused to listen. That guy had ambition, had fire. This version of me just existed. The restaurant fell into a stunned silence. Even the background music seemed to hold its breath. Inside, something shifted. Not anger. Clarity. I set down my fork, folded my napkin, and met Holly's eyes. You're absolutely right, she blinked, confused. What? She asked softly. I'm not the man you married. That man was a fool who tolerated disrespect because he confused love with accommodation. He thought patience and peacekeeping were virtues. He believed that if he stayed steady, eventually you'd remember why you married him. I stood slowly, deliberately. You're right. That man doesn't exist anymore. And you know what? I don't miss him. Holly grabbed my arm. Brandon, I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. You meant exactly that. I gently removed her hand. In front of a restaurant full of people, you made it clear the man you married was better than who I am now. Sit down, she hissed. You're embarrassing me. Embarrassing you, I echoed, voice sharp. After what you just said? After what your friends let loose all night? They were just joking, she said weakly. No, I said. They were attacking, and you were directing. This whole evening was designed to tear me down. And you're upset because I'm not playing along anymore. You're being ridiculous, Amber said suddenly, stepping in. She's your wife, Christine added. You don't just walk out on your wife over some comments. I looked at each of them one by one. You four enjoy dessert. Enjoy figuring out how to split the bill. Consider it practice for independence. I pulled out my wallet. Holly's face lit up, thinking I'd fold like always. Instead, I placed my lawyer's business card on the table. You'll be hearing from him Monday. Her mouth fell open. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. This is insane. Over one dinner? Not over one dinner, I said quietly. Over 15 years of teaching me my boundaries were optional. Over becoming someone I don't respect, because you don't respect me. Over building a life with someone who sees me as a function, not a person. I looked at them one last time. The man you married is gone. Holly, you spent 15 years training him out of existence. This is who's left, and he knows his worth. I turned and walked toward the exit. I heard Amber's voice, low and sure. He's bluffing. He'll be back. Holly's nervous laugh followed me out into the rain, but I kept walking. Outside, the storm wrapped around me like a shroud. I slid into my car, hands gripping the wheel as the rain drummed a relentless rhythm on the roof. My phone buzzed. Holly. I glanced at it, turned it face down, started the engine, and drove away. The drive home felt strangely surreal. I rolled down the windows despite the rain, letting the cold October air whip through the cabin, carrying away the heaviness that had settled over me all night. I flicked on the radio, and a song from our early dating days drifted through the speakers, one of those cheesy love ballads we used to laugh about, but secretly loved. The irony wasn't lost on me. Instead of feeling nostalgic or heartbroken, I felt light, free. I kept waiting for the usual voice, the one that whispered doubt, that tangled my thoughts in what-ifs and should-haves, the voice that had kept me anchored in this marriage for 15 years. But it never came. All I felt was clarity. The truth that some things, once spoken, can never be taken back. When your wife tells you, in front of her friends and a crowded restaurant, that you're not the man she married, that you're just a shadow of him, that relationship is already over. I just made it official. My phone buzzed relentlessly. At a red light, I glanced down. 47 messages, most from Holly, some from her friends, family, people I barely knew. Come back right now. This is ridiculous. Fine. Be dramatic. Then the tone shifted. Brandon, seriously, come back. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Please answer your phone. One message caught me off guard. The check came. How am I supposed to pay for this? I chuckled bitterly. After everything, after being reduced to a wallet with legs, she was upset the wallet had left the building. I ended up calling Christine's husband to come and cover the bill. Small victories, I guess. Pulling into our driveway, the house looked different. Familiar, but somehow foreign. Like a place I used to know but had forgotten how to live in. Inside, I went straight to my study, my sanctuary. I called my lawyer's emergency line. This is Brandon Foster. I need an emergency consultation first thing Monday. My marriage is over. I'll explain everything then, but prepare for a contested divorce. I hung up, heart pounding. I started documenting everything, not just tonight's chaos, but the years of quiet erosion, the pattern of disrespect, the way I'd been trained to accept less and less until it finally broke. As I wrote, my eyes caught Holly's laptop left open on the desk. I wasn't snooping, but curiosity got the better of me. A chat window was open. Amber from 3 days ago. Finally going to show them what I mean about B, Holly had typed. Dinner at the boathouse Friday. Time for some validation. Amber's reply was 3 laughing emojis and, about time, can't wait. My stomach twisted. This wasn't spontaneous. It was planned. Organized like an event. My humiliation scheduled. I took a photo of the screen and sent it to myself. Evidence. Proof. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Amber's voice furious. So you do answer your phone. What do you want? Your wife sitting here crying and you just disappeared like a coward. A coward would have stayed and pretended everything was fine. An adult recognizes when it's over and acts accordingly. Over some teasing? You're pathetic. Let me ask you something, Amber. If your husband spent 2 hours letting his friends tear you down, then told a restaurant full of people you're not the woman he married, in a disappointed tone, what would you do? Silence. That's what I thought. Don't call me again. I hung up and blocked the number. The messages didn't stop. They came from different numbers, like Holly was burning through her contacts, trying every angle. One message caught my eye. Laura, Holly's sister. I don't know what happened tonight, but she's at my house crying. I typed back, ask her to tell you exactly what she said to me at the restaurant. Word for word. Then ask yourself if you'd accept your husband saying that to you in public. The reply was quick. She said you were being difficult with her friends and she got frustrated. That's not what she said. What she said was, I'm not the man she married. The man she married had ambition and fire. I just exist. After sitting quietly while her friends spent 2 hours attacking me, she said it loud enough for the whole restaurant to hear, word for word. Long pause. She said that word for word. After 15 years of marriage, she reduced me to a disappointment in front of an audience. Ask her if I'm lying. Another pause. I had no idea. She made it sound like you just exploded over nothing. I exploded over everything. Over years of being taken for granted until tonight, when she finally said what she really thought. By 2 in the morning, I'd received messages from a dozen different numbers, friends, family, strangers even. Holly was working every angle. The last message came at 2:47. Please, I know I messed up. Can we just talk about this like adults? I stared at it for 5 minutes. Thinking about 15 years, the good times, the life we built. Then I thought about her face when her friends tore me down, the way she lit up, the way she laughed, the casual cruelty when she told me to pay and leave. I deleted the message without replying. At 3, I went to bed in the guest room, not because I was being dramatic, but because the master bedroom belonged to people who no longer existed. Sleep was slow to come. I lay in the dark, listening to the rain that hadn't stopped since dinner. Part of me kept waiting for doubt to creep in, for that old voice to whisper, "What if you're overreacting? What if everyone's right and you're too sensitive? What if you're throwing away something good over one bad night?" Then I replayed her words. "He's just not the man I married." The contempt in her voice, the knowing nods from her friends. They'd heard it all before. She'd been saying versions of this for months, maybe years, building a story where I was the problem. No, I wasn't overreacting. I was finally reacting. And for the first time in months, I slept better than I had in years. Morning light spilled through the guest room curtains, soft and unfamiliar. The window faced east, and for a moment, I forgot. I'd never really paid attention to which way the rooms faced. My phone buzzed relentlessly, 93 messages overnight, but I didn't open a single one. Not yet. At 7:30, my lawyer called back. His voice was steady, professional. "Got your message, Brandon. What happened?" I told him everything. The dinner, the years of slow erosion, the public humiliation. He didn't interrupt once. "Public witnesses to her statements will be valuable," he said. "Don't delete any messages. They show her state of mind. Monday at 9, we'll start the paperwork." At 8, new messages started rolling in. "Holly, I know you're awake. We need to talk." "Holly, I'm coming over." I typed my first reply. "Don't. I'm not ready to see you. And when I am, it will be with lawyers present." There was a pause, then, "You can't be serious. This is our house." I smiled bitterly as I typed back, "Me? That's a legal question we can discuss Monday." She fired back, "Why are you being like this? Cold, mean. This isn't you." I paused, then sent, "You're right. This isn't the man you married. You said so yourself." A silence, then, "I didn't mean it." "Yes, you did. You meant exactly that." I typed, "Nicole told me. She told me you planned it, that you wanted to show them what you deal with." Holly's face went pale in my mind's eye. "You shouldn't have said that," she would have whispered. "But is it true?" Silence. "I just needed someone to understand what it's like being married to someone who's so what?" Holly couldn't finish. "Say it," I urged. "You're not who you used to be." The words hit like a punch. "You used to have dreams, goals," I said, stepping fully into the doorway. "Now you just go to work, come home, repeat. It's like you gave up on everything that made you interesting." She took a step back. "You want to know what happened to that man?" I waited. "You killed him." Year by year, dream by dream. Every time I got excited about something and you rolled your eyes. Every time I suggested something new and you had a better idea. Every time I tried and you needed me to stay steady. I became reliable. Steady. The man who didn't rock the boat because that's what you needed. And last night, you told your friends it was my failure. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't mean it like that, she sobbed. Then, how did you mean it? She wiped her face. I just miss who we were. No, I said quietly. You miss who I was before life with you turned me into this. That's the part you don't get. You're mourning someone you killed. You miss the man you married. So do I, Holly. So do I. Maybe we can fix this. Go to counseling. I'm not giving up. I'm recognizing when something's over. It's not over. We love each other. Do you love me? Or do you love what I provide? Because the man standing in front of you right now is who I actually am. And last night you made it clear he's a disappointment. So what? One mistake and you're done. It wasn't one mistake. It was the final one. The one that showed me what you really think. And Holly, you can't unsay it. Even if you take it back, I'll always know when you look at me. Part of you is disappointed I'm not someone else. That's not true. Your face last night told me everything. When I said I wasn't the man you married, when I said that man was a fool, you know what I saw? What? You missed him. You missed the fool. Because the fool would have paid the bill, driven you home and pretended it didn't hurt. But he's gone. And Holly, I'm not bringing him back. Her voice cracked. Please, I love you. I'll do anything. Then respect my decision. Let me go. Stop calling. Stop texting. Stop sending people. Let me go with dignity. I can't. Then you'll do it through lawyers. Those are your options. I stepped back and closed the door gently. She stood on the porch for 5 minutes, then left. I walked through the house, really looked at it. 15 years of pictures on the walls, furniture we chose together, the coffee table I refinished by hand. I stopped at a photo from our honeymoon, sun-drenched beach, laughter in our eyes, young and full of hope. I studied our faces. That Brandon looked so sure, so certain he'd found his person, so ready to build a life. What would I tell him if I could go back? Warn him? Set boundaries earlier? Tell him not to accommodate so much? Or would I let him have those years, even knowing how they'd end? I set the photo face down and walked away. Later that night, the messages were different. I'm sorry. I understand if you need space. I talked to my mom. She helped me see what I did. I didn't respect you. I took you for granted and convinced myself it was justified. But I changed you. I wanted stable and reliable, then punished you for becoming it. I know you said to stop messaging. This is the last one. I see what I did. I see how I made you feel. I'm sorry. You deserved better than me. At 1:15 a.m., I lied. That wasn't the last one. I'm staying at my mom's. The house is yours. I'll have my lawyer contact yours. I'm sorry for everything. The man I married was someone who loved me enough to become who I needed. And I loved him so little, I resented him for it. Finally, I hope you find someone who sees your worth. I'm sorry I forgot to. I read them all, felt sad, not regretful, just sad. There was someone in those messages I could have loved, but she showed up 15 years too late. Sunday morning dawned quiet and cool, the light filtering softly through the blinds as I sat at the kitchen table, nursing a lukewarm cup of coffee. My phone buzzed, another call from Dad. I answered, feeling the weight of the past few days pressing down like the gray Seattle sky outside. How are you holding up? He asked gently. Sad, but certain, I admitted. That's healthy, he said. Your mother-in-law called me last night. Laura's not one to mince words. She tore into Holly. Made her see what she did. Holly's in therapy now, taking responsibility. That's good, I said, hoping it might be a turning point. The question isn't whether Holly can apologize, son, Dad said, his voice steady. It's whether you can trust someone who needed to lose you to respect you. I swallowed hard. I can't. Then you have your answer. We talked for a while longer about fresh starts, about breaking cycles, and about teaching people how to treat you. Later that week, the days blurred in a haze of paperwork and phone calls. Monday, the divorce papers were filed. Tuesday, Holly signed without contest. Wednesday, I changed the locks. Thursday, a bouquet of flowers arrived from Laura with a note. I'm proud of you for knowing your worth. Friday morning found me sitting across from my lawyer in his downtown office, rain streaking the windows. It felt like it hadn't stopped raining since that fateful Friday night. This is fairly straightforward, he said, scanning my documentation. Public humiliation, pattern of disrespect. Your wife's own messages show escalating panic and eventual admission of fault. No children to complicate things. You'll come out of this financially sound. I shrugged. I don't care about the money, I just want it done. He looked over his reading glasses. That's what everyone says at first. You'll care eventually. Let me protect your interests so you don't regret it later. I nodded, signed, initialed, dated. Walking out of his office, I felt strange. Not sad exactly, not relieved, just different. Like I was watching someone else's life unfold, someone brave enough to walk away. That Friday evening, Dad and I met for dinner at a small pub, tucked away in a quiet part of town. We talked about new beginnings, about not repeating old mistakes, about setting boundaries and standing firm. 2 weeks later, Holly sent one last text. I'm not trying to get you back. I'm working on being better. My therapist says I have patterns of taking people for granted once I feel secure. I'm sorry you paid the price for me to learn. You deserve better. Thank you for finally demanding it. I didn't respond, but I saved the message, not out of hope, but for closure. 1 month after that dinner, I stood at a viewpoint overlooking the city, the sunset painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The city lights flickered on below, 1,000 tiny promises glowing in the dusk. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. It was Amber. Holly told us everything. What she said, how she acted. I owe you an apology. We were enablers. We helped her become someone who could treat you like that. I'm sorry. I typed back. Thank you. That means something. For what it's worth, she's really changing, but she'll have to do it without you. I understand. I just wanted you to know the man you are now, the one who walked away, is not disappointing. He's the one who finally had enough self-respect to leave. I'm learning. I put my phone away and watched the sunset. The city looked beautiful. I'd forgotten to notice things like this. She was right about one thing. I'm not the man she married. That man thought love meant erasing yourself. That man thought patience and accommodation were the same as respect. That man taught her I had no bottom line. That man is gone. What remains is someone who knows his worth, someone who understands that the right person won't need you to become less, just so they can feel more. Holly missed the man she married. I don't. I don't miss the fool who thought love meant tolerating disrespect. I don't miss the version of myself who confused peacekeeping with self-respect. Her face that night told me everything. When I told her that man was gone, she looked devastated. Not because she realized what she'd lost, because she realized her strategy wouldn't work anymore. She missed the fool who would have forgiven anything. Well, he doesn't exist anymore. And for the first time in 15 years, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Tomorrow's Monday, a fresh start. And this time I'm looking forward to it. It was strange, standing there in the fading light, the city sprawling beneath me like a tangled web of stories, some ended, others just beginning. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain and pine. I tucked my phone into my jacket pocket and took a deep breath, feeling more alive than I had in years. But as I turned away from the view, my thoughts drifted to Holly. Not the woman she'd been that night, nor the one in those texts, but the real person beneath it all. Somewhere beneath the layers of disappointment and bitterness, was she still in there? Did she even want to be found? My phone buzzed again. This time a text from an unknown number with just one word: Brandon. I stared at it, a knot tightening in my stomach. It wasn't from Holly or any of her friends. It was new. Curiosity warred with caution as I debated whether to reply. Before I could decide, another message popped up. Meet me. Midnight. The pier. Alone. I frowned. The pier was that old spot where Holly and I had spent lazy Sunday afternoons before the walls started going up. A place soaked in memories, both good and bad. I tapped back, "Why?" No reply. The clock ticked closer to midnight, and despite every warning bell in my head, I found myself driving through the rain-soaked streets toward the waterfront. The city lights blurred past, reflections dancing on slick pavement. Pulling up near the pier, I killed the engine, the hush of the water mixing with the steady patter of rain. The old wooden boards creaked beneath my feet as I stepped out, the salty air filling my lungs. There, beneath a flickering lamppost, stood a figure in the shadows. As they stepped forward, I caught a flash of familiar blonde hair, but the face was obscured by a hood. "Brandon." The voice was soft but urgent. I didn't know who else to turn to. I swallowed hard. "Who is this?" The figure lowered the hood, revealing a woman I didn't recognize, sharp eyes, a determined set to her jaw. Not Holly. Someone new. Someone dangerous. "I'm Lila," she said. "And I know what happened to you, what she did, but it's not over, not by a long shot." A chill ran down my spine. This was no reunion. This was a warning. And suddenly I realized my quiet exit from that marriage was only the beginning of a much darker story. The rain fell harder as Lila's words hung between us, the cold night wrapping around the pier like a shroud. Her eyes, sharp and unblinking, held a weight I wasn't ready to carry, but couldn't ignore. "It's not over," she repeated, voice low but urgent. I swallowed, gripping the railing to steady myself. "What do you mean? Who are you? How do you know about Holly and me?" She hesitated, then pulled a worn envelope from inside her coat. "I've been watching, listening. There's more to your story. Things Holly didn't tell you, things you need to know before you move on." I glanced around, the quiet lapping of the waves suddenly feeling ominous. Why come to me? Why not stay in the shadows? Lila's lips twitched into a grim smile. "Because you're not the man she married anymore, and neither is she. There are secrets beneath the surface, things that could change everything." I looked at the envelope, then back at her. "I don't know if I'm ready for this." She shrugged, stepping closer, the faint scent of rain and smoke clinging to her coat. "Sometimes the truth finds you whether you want it or not." With that, she handed me the envelope and disappeared into the darkness, leaving me alone with the cold wind and 100 questions. I hesitated, then opened it. Inside were photographs, some candid, some staged, showing Holly with a man I didn't recognize, late-night texts between her and someone named M, and a note scribbled in hurried handwriting. "She's hiding more than just her feelings. Watch your back." My heart pounded. What was I stepping into? Suddenly a flashlight beam cut through the darkness from the far end of the pier. I ducked behind a crate just as two figures appeared, voices low but urgent. "Did he get it?" one asked. "Yeah. He doesn't know what he's dealing with," the other replied. "Keep an eye on him. We can't afford mistakes." I clenched the envelope tighter, realizing the peaceful end I'd hoped for was slipping away. Whatever this was, it was bigger than Holly, bigger than me. And now I was caught in the middle. The rain kept falling, the city lights distant and cold. Tonight, the past wasn't done with me yet. I pressed my back against the rough wooden crate, heart thundering in my chest as the two shadows moved closer, their voices carrying just enough for me to catch scraps of their conversation. "He got the envelope," one whispered. "Does he know what's inside?" "Not yet," the other replied. "But he will, and when he does, things get messy. We need to keep him close, make sure he doesn't poke his nose where it doesn't belong." The words sent a shiver down my spine. I wasn't just a man walking away from a broken marriage anymore. I was a pawn in a game I didn't understand. As the footsteps faded, I slipped from my hiding spot and back toward my car. The envelope burned in my pocket like a warning. Driving home, the city's neon glow smeared by rain, I couldn't stop thinking about Lila's cryptic message. Who was this M, and what secrets was Holly hiding? Why had she dragged me into something so tangled and dangerous? At home, I locked every door and window, but sleep didn't come. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table, the envelope spread open before me. The photos showed Holly laughing with a stranger, their faces too close for comfort. The texts hinted at late-night meetings and whispered promises. One message stood out. "It's almost time. Make sure he's ready." Ready for what? I felt like I was staring into a puzzle whose pieces refused to fit. The next morning brought no relief. My phone buzzed with unknown numbers, calls I ignored. Then a text from Lila. "Be careful, Brandon. They're watching." I stared at the screen, a mix of fear and determination settling in. I'd spent so long trying to keep peace, to be the steady man Holly wanted. But now, steadiness wasn't enough. I needed answers. And no matter the cost, I was going to find them. Little did I know, the deeper I dug, the more dangerous the truth would become. And the closer I'd get to the edge of everything I thought I knew. The days that followed felt like I was living in two worlds. The familiar routine of work and quiet meals at home, and the shadowy undercurrent of secrets unraveling beneath the surface. I kept the envelope locked away, but I couldn't shake the feeling that every glance over my shoulder was met with unseen eyes. One evening, as twilight bled into night, my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the old mill, 10 p.m. Come alone." The old mill was a forgotten relic on the outskirts of town, a place where the past lingered in the cracked walls and broken windows, the kind of place perfect for whispered deals and hidden truths. I debated ignoring it, but my gut told me this was the moment to stop running in circles. At 10 sharp, rain slicked the cobblestones as I slipped through the rusted gates. Shadows shifted in the moonlight, and a figure stepped from the darkness. Lila. "No cops, no games," she said, voice low. "You need to know what you're up against." She handed me a small flash drive. "This has everything. Emails, recordings, financials. Holly's tangled in something far worse than a failing marriage." I swallowed hard. "Why tell me this? Why now?" "Because," she said, eyes fierce, "you're the only one who can stop it, or get caught in the fallout." As I plugged the drive into my laptop back home, the screen filled with emails between Holly and someone referred to only as M. Plans, threats, whispered deals, money moving in ways that made my stomach churn. I leaned back, mind racing. This wasn't just betrayal. This was danger. And I was right in the middle of it. Suddenly, a knock at the door shattered the silence. I froze. No one should be here. I moved toward the door, heart pounding. Peeking through the peephole, I saw a familiar face, Nicole, but her eyes weren't warm. They were cold, calculating. "Brandon." "We need to talk," she said, voice smooth but unreadable. As I opened the door, I realized the line between friend and foe had never been thinner, and the game was far from over. Nicole stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, the faint scent of jasmine trailing behind her. Her tailored coat clung to her slender frame, and beneath it, a sleek black dress hinted at a confidence I hadn't seen in her before. Her heels clicked softly on the hardwood floor as she moved toward the living room, eyes never leaving mine. "We don't have much time," she said, voice low. "You've stumbled onto something dangerous. Holly's not just playing with fire, she's dancing on the edge of a knife." I shut the door behind her, heart pounding. "Why now? Why come to me?" Nicole's lips curled into a half-smile, almost sad. "Because you're the only one she trusted enough to try and warn, but it backfired. And now we all have to clean up the mess." I sat down, running a hand through my hair. "What mess?" She pulled out a small envelope from her purse and slid it across the table. Inside were documents, bank statements, contracts, and a list of names. "This is everything we've been hiding. Holly's involvement with M goes deeper than you know. Money laundering, threats, even disappearances." The weight of it crushed me. The woman I thought I knew was living a life I couldn't have imagined. Nicole's eyes locked onto mine. "You have a choice, Brandon. Walk away and protect yourself, or dive in and help us bring this down." I looked around the quiet house, the photos, the memories, the life I thought I was leaving behind. "I'm in," I said finally. "But if we're doing this, we do it together." Her smile was brief but genuine. "Good, because there's no turning back now." Just then, my phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "They're watching. Trust no one. Midnight. Pierre." I glanced at Nicole. "Looks like our next move's already decided." She nodded. "Welcome back to the fight, Brandon." As the rain began to fall outside, I realized this was no longer just about a broken marriage. It was about survival, and the truth, no matter how dark, was worth fighting for. The city lights flickered through the storm, the night alive with secrets waiting to be uncovered, and I was ready to face whatever came next.